Good morning and afternoon, everyone. I'm Joe Burton, Plantronics Chief Technology Officer and Senior Vice President of Engineering and Development. First of all, thank you all very much for inviting me here today to share my view on what the world's going to look like in 2025. So for me, there's some very exciting things that are happening over the next 2 to 3 years, some very large trends that are colliding that are going to fundamentally affect the entire world that we live in. One very often quoted statistic that I think all of us have probably seen is this whole idea that there will be 24 to 50 billion internet-connected devices by 2020. And certainly that'll be 50 billion or perhaps even more by 2025, the time frame that we're talking about. So with the work that I've been doing over the last few years, I wanted to zero in on exactly how it will change our lives, literally change how we work, how we play, how we receive medicine, and the entire enjoyment of everything around us by having 50 billion internet-connected devices around us. How can we use that to gain business efficiency, to deliver better medicine and education if all of these devices are harnessed? Well, the first real key is all of these devices will understand where we are, who we are, how we feel, how we interact with the world around us, both through devices and applications and with each other, and be able to really serve up information tailor-made to each of us to make our life more productive and more enjoyable. So all of this information coming together is a concept that's called contextual awareness. So how's contextual awareness going to be such a big deal? Well, first of all, when we talk about 24 to 50 billion devices connected to the internet, we're not just talking about devices like your iPhone or your laptop or your tablet computer. We're literally talking about all the things on this screen and beyond. So we are talking about the infamous internet-connected refrigerator over time. We're talking about thermostats, video cameras, intelligent TV sets. We're talking about the device that you see in the middle that is literally checking blood glucose through a monitor hooked to their thumb, hooked into an app on a phone. All internet-connected devices changing the way we live. Now, we know this is a tremendous opportunity, but Gartner has actually suggested that we can all follow the money. So Gartner has actually quoted in a recent study that $96 billion per year of spend will actually be driven by whether or not devices are internet connected and contextually aware. That's a tremendous amount of consumer spend, where if you're able to have an intelligent device that can hook into an app that can explain more about the world around people, almost $100 billion a year worth of spend will be preferred because of those capabilities. So very simple example of how this works already today, or can work today. So I actually put up one of my favorite cities and one of my favorite cups of coffee. So when I'm in Prague, which that's a picture of, looking for a coffee shop on my smartphone, and I go in and I Google it or whatever search engine is of my choice, for it to bring up a list of coffee shops in Santa Cruz, because that's where I work with Plantronics, is not terribly useful. But what I actually want is some contextual awareness. I want my smartphone plus Google to, first of all, to know I'm in Prague right now, to know what time of day it is in Prague, and bring me up a list of coffee shops that are near my current location, open at the time, and actually bonus points for having noticed a little more about me over time and understanding that I actually prefer Illy coffee when I'm in Europe to any of the other brands, and perhaps even filter that down to open coffee shops that have Illy that are near me at this exact moment. So that's a simple example of contextual intelligence that works today, but it's getting ready to go much, much farther, and I would actually suggest that this whole idea of 50 billion internet-connected devices is getting ready to be dramatically low. The reason that's going to be that's a very low estimate is some of the innovations that are happening around sensors that go into devices, but sensors that you also wear on your body. So when we look at sensors, what's happened is an incredible growth in accelerometers that actually understand the motion of our bodies, of our cars, of our laptops, etc. Magnetometers that can actually sense magnetic fields to tell direction, to help understand head orientation. Actual capacitive sensors that can tell if something is touching our skin or if it's not. Sensors for temperature, for pulse, for moisture, all of which can be put on your next generation smartphone. They can be put on your laptop, they can be put on your car, but they can also be put literally on your body. So all of these are becoming have hit a point and are continuing to hit a point over the next couple of years where they're becoming incredibly small and incredibly cheap, so it's actually fair game to embed them into every headset. If you're in the business that I'm in, you can embed them into a wrist bracelet that you might wear when you're exercising, embed them into laptops, into your laptop bag or your purse or your wallet or literally anything, in order to track a little bit more about the world around you. So it's getting to the point where by pulling all these together, the possibilities are even are absolutely endless. So one of the concepts I've been spending a lot of time on lately is that with all these body-worn sensors, we can develop a really robust PAN, or personal area network. So when we talk about the internet, the WAN and the LAN, the next real evolution for the network is around the personal area network, where all the things on your body will be able to talk. It'll be the mobile phone talking to your Bluetooth headset to stream music and phone calls. Your heart rate monitor also talking to your smartphone and your headset to interact. When I run today with my Bluetooth low energy heart rate monitor on, periodically, as I actually reach my target heart zone, it will subtly turn down the music in my Bluetooth headset, tell me that I'm in my target heart zone, and bring the music back up. As I'm moving along, it'll check the amount of sweat that I have and actually tell me, along with my heart rate, what my exertion looks like. So the trick is, all those sensors are going on. That's pretty exciting. But then when we intersect that with some of the personal area network technologies that are getting much better and easier to use, wireless technologies that are low power and much more mature, like Bluetooth low energy, low power Wi-Fi, DECT ultra low power, we really are developing a perfect storm of technologies that are going to be able to provide 8, 10, 12 internet-connected devices around each and every one of us, just helping us live. So let's talk a little bit more about that really happening. So any smartphone today contains sensors for acceleration, movement, a magnetometer for orientation, light sensors, and so forth. But we're beginning to see the next generation happening. If you're a Kickstarter fanatic like I am, you see things like the Node project, the Twine project, and several others that are actually starting to bring together these sensors that I talked about into bundles that can be used to actually watch the world around you and then somehow serve it up to you on a laptop. but I think they're actually missing the point. Serving it up on a laptop's not really is not really where we want to be. What we want is to have all these sensors on our body, as we see in this diagram, in the buildings around us, in the on the street around us, in our yard, and so forth, all interacting as we get near one device, farther from another device. What we wind up with is what I've been referring to as either personal presence, personal context, or even transient capability. At this exact moment, because I am sitting in my library in Los Gatos, near a MacBook, near a particular set of communications devices, I have a particular, and at a resting heart rate, or nearly, I have a particular set of capabilities at this moment. When I get up with my smartphone and a couple of other pieces of technology in my headset, and I wander out into the street by my car, which has some other capabilities, my transient capabilities are going to change. I'm going to lose some capabilities, and I'm going to gain some others. So the fascinating part of this, of having that transient capability that constantly changes and knowing which sensors I'm near that can tell me, am I in motion? Am I near a car? Am I near a video camera? Am I running? Am I falling? All of those things can be sensed by the sensors through all these low power personal area networks. They can actually be pushed to the cloud. And this is where it actually intersects with more traditional technologies that everybody's talking about around mobile, big data, and analytics. So we wind up in this phenomenal spot where all these sensors are sending that data to the cloud, and it's now quite reasonable for the first time in human history to actually track many, many terabytes of data on each individual. Now, don't get scared about Big Brother. In this case, we're talking about personally tracking it. So in my life, I already have a situation where I'm trying to live the dream. My heart rate monitor, my Plantronics headset, because obviously I'm involved with them, my smartphone, many other devices I have all funneling their data into the cloud. I've intersected that data with some of the people on my team that are privately collecting their data. And then we've given an analytics engine the capability to analyze their data, or my data for me personally, and to analyze our data together and look for trends. And some of the stuff we see is just phenomenal. I mean, if you ever want to see, kind of the how far some of this can go, if you go on to Twitter. You'll actually find one of the people that I follow on Twitter. If you find Joe Burton CTO, go to the people I follow. One of the people I follow is called My Voyager Pro. My Voyager Pro is actually my headset from Plantronics. And the reason my headset is on Twitter is my headset tweets. My headset has contextual intelligence. We've put sensors into it that understand if it's on my head or off my head, if it's near or far from PCs or soft phones or whatever. So all of that information is understood and pushed to the cloud to an analytics engine where it can be intersected with my heart rate and my temperature, my location, and so forth, and used for many, many things. And the economics of this are such that every single person can do this now. Every single business can do this. Every entertainment company trying to capture a more mind share can offer to subsidize this, all at a price that is very, very cheap. So a few examples as we walk through this very quickly. First of all, health and wellness, one of my favorites. As I said, my sensor data for my temperature, my pulse, target heart rate, actually gets intersected with my GPS location, magnetometer saying what direction that I'm facing and so forth. All of these things get intersected, pushed to the cloud, crunched around in some analytics that some of which are open source, some of which are slightly commercial that I have worked with. And I actually get a health report on myself that on a daily basis that explains, am I in better shape for walking up hills? Am I in better shape for running on the flats? Am I getting faster? Am I getting stronger? Oh, by the way, the scale in my house is actually internet connected and puts my weight and body fat content actually into this whole equation too. I'm getting better information on myself than we were probably getting on the president 25 years ago, completely for free. All of this can be brought into productivity in some really amazing ways. As I talked about a couple of minutes ago, the ability to know all of those things can allow us to route calls in very efficient ways. So a great example that I use a lot where I've started playing with this is my company is very Salesforce.com oriented for the sales team. So they live on Salesforce.com. And when the sales executives have a big deal that they need to get approved, they need to give an extra 1% discount in order to close this deal. Well, the problem that I was noticing along with my team is that they would call their manager and they would go to voicemail. So they would call his manager and they would get a hold of him and he would say, well, I can approve your deal, but not until I see it, and I'm not near my PC. So instead, what we've been able to do is use some of this contextual awareness that I was talking about and intersect that with a presence engine and with the unified communication system so that we don't put the call through to your manager or to your manager's manager. We put the call through to a sales executive that has authority to approve $1 million deal that is near a PC right now so they can get the screen share, and is not in motion because it would probably be unsafe to put it through to his laptop computer that's running over LTE while he drives. We're not allowed to do that anymore in the United States. Another great example that kind of comes back to this, customer care contact agents. The ability to use those sensors to certainly know if a contact agent has their headset on or off. So we don't, so the ACD can just simply not route a call to them unless they have their headset on. If an agent gets up and wanders away from their PC to stretch their legs, which they are allowed to do. If this is a video contact center, as they move away from the PC, we got a couple of choices. Even though they have a headset on, as they move away from the PC, we either need to mark them as not available for a video call so it doesn't ring through to them on video, but they can still take voice. Or if they're maybe 10 feet from their PC, then we need to whisper into the headset, you have a video call coming through, please go sit down. Now, those are the obvious ones that are starting to happen today. But when I go back and intersect some of the health and wellness ones with the contact center, and there's some early research going on here, we can actually start doing work where I can be actually watching the agent's pulse rate, watching their the moisture content of their skin, and I can actually be looking for early signs of agitation, early signs of a call going bad far before the agent is actually going to know it, or the or perhaps the customer on the other end. So we can watch for signs of conflict, watch for signs of stress. And then do a few things, either pop things up on the screen, asking the agent to relax, suggesting different ways they can talk. We can conference in a supervisor to help them out. The other thing we can do is, even if the call goes okay, we can use We can use all those signs of stress, of agitation, or of a great call, and then we can actually record that. We can actually perform analytics on that, compare this particular customer and this particular agent, and actually tune the customer and the agent's profiles. If they had a great interaction, then the next time that customer calls, let's route them either to that same agent if they're available, or to an agent that is similar, in order to perpetually give a better customer experience. Likewise, if they didn't have a great experience, then let's look to not route them to similar people in the future. Entertainment, gaming, movies. Once again, all phenomenal capabilities where, to the extent that you want to, and one of the things that I'm really advocating in this explosive world of sensors that we're moving into is that this is going to have to very much be an opt-in. You're going to have to be in control of your own individual sensor data, and you're going to have to grant access to these applications periodically. But to the extent that you want to, imagine granting access to your sensor data to an interactive game, so it could actually see which things seem to engage you the most. And levels of engagement could certainly be what things get your heart rate up if this is an adrenaline junkie game, and the game can actually self-modify and correct you and direct you into more things that seem to get you excited, more things that seem to engage you. We can look at your head tracking, as I talked about, and actually find, do you seem to be engaged? Are you looking at the screen, or are you looking away? You can imagine this for gaming, imagine for movies, imagine for entertainment, and imagine for learning, where different children learn in different ways. To move over to education, and to actually look at the beginning of some online course with 30 kids in it, or 30 college students, or even 30 adults like most of us. Some of us learn by reading text. Some of us learn with interactive dialogue. Some of us learn visually. Imagine actually measuring the level of engagement for each student, and then self-tuning amongst 3 or 4 different ways of delivering the content, in order to literally deliver a better, tailored education experience for each and every kid. Same thing around security. You can imagine understanding when people get near doors, just unlocking them, when they're inside, locking them. But you can also imagine for a young person walking across a college campus. My children are that age. I think about this. If we understood, if it were understood over time, if my daughter's body-worn sensors, if my daughter's smartphone understood typically how she feels, how high her pulse rate is as she walks across campus at 11 p.m., if we had established a baseline, then if there were some particular night that she actually seemed to be experiencing more anxiety for some reason, she had more anxiety, then she was running, then suddenly she wasn't, we might actually be able to interpret that as an emergency situation and call for security to swing by and see if she's all right. So the point of all of this, I think, is that the world that we live in today is an exciting but crowded place. We're getting bombarded by data all the time. You know, most of us get something on the order of 1,000 attempts at contact per day in the business world, from unified communications that is anything but unified, to Twitter, to Facebook, to text messages, to advertisers looking for our attention. It's exciting, but it's crowded, and how do you find what you want? The real belief is, over the next few years, as we actually move to this world of body-worn sensors, contextual intelligence under the control of the individual, we're going to be able to get those 50 billion devices, those 8 to 10 to 15 devices per human being that are going to be on the earth, we're going to be able to get them working for you, delivering education the way you want it delivered, helping monitor your health and wellness in the way you want it to be delivered, helping entertainment run your house, helping us all become more efficient, and of course helping intersect with unified communications to create just an incredibly productive business environment as well. So that's certainly my view for the trends that are happening probably between 2012 and 2017 that are going to just dramatically change everything in our life by 2025. Thank you very much.